big news of the week. Then came across on Saturday. I get home from the golf course. I see a message from Ryan that I thought was not real, but in fact, of course, it was. Bray Wyatt released by WWE over the weekend. The word that is reported is due to budget cuts, as we have heard many a time, especially multiple times over the last year and a half. So well, let's give our thoughts on the release, and then I kind of want to attack this in two different ways. One, where did it go wrong? I think there's maybe multiple places that this went wrong, but also I saw a question somebody had posted the other day on Twitter. It was Bray Wyatt misused, which I think is an interesting topic point. But first, go around the room. Thoughts on the release itself of Bray Wyatt.
Where do you want to start? I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you can let go of a character like Bray Wyatt. It doesn't make any sense to me. And this one will absolutely come back and bite the WWE in their ass.
Tim, Matt?
So if I'm honest, I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. Harper, Rowan, Braun. All three of them were cut. They were let go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Harper kind of wanted his own way out, but the other two were at the WWE's hand. And Bray didn't really have anybody else in the background to have his back. I'm not surprised that they sent him packing, especially we said it after Braun Strowman, but like if they're cutting Braun Strowman, they're willing to cut anybody.
Sure.
Braun was just he was at WrestleMania. He wrestled the best in the world. And then he was in a
Shane McMahon.
Where is it? There it is.
The best in the world. Shane McMahon!
Damn, that's long.
Yes, it is.
But once Braun was gone, I mean, he faces who he faced at WrestleMania, and then he faces off for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania Backlash, and he's gone. If they're gonna fire him, they'll fire anybody. And
he raked my back. Yeah, no, he didn't literally rake it.
So unfortunately for
Backrash.
Bray, for Backrash, unfortunately for Bray, he was gone a little too long. But also kind of crazy that they were talking about him, talking to him about a return in August. That's now
the month we're in. Yes,
that's like nowish, dude. But that lines up with everything with Aleister Black,
right?
Who else did they let go? Right
Everrise.
Before Everrise. Chelsea, I think. Wasn't Chelsea supposed to? Or no? Who's the other one?
Ruby?
There was somebody else.
Not Ruby. It was somebody who was going to make a call up.
Santana Garrett.
Oh.
Yep.
Like, not surprised again.
Right. Yeah, I think like it kind of goes along because we touched on this a little bit on the pre-show, post-show, but like it's like I don't think the two sides are like there's the Nick Khan side and then there's like the wrestling side. Like the wrestling side's in their world, and then Nick Khan's like, get rid of them. They're not making enough money for us. Get rid of them. Like I think I said to Ryan on the pre-show, post-show, like it's the corporate side. I think is looking at, this is how much we're paying you. This is how much you're being utilized. I don't even know if they're looking at what you're being utilized. This is how much you're bringing in. It sucks. It's like it's a bad way to do wrestling business. To analyze it from and I get it's business versus whatever, there's a lot to it, but I think that like Bray, I'm sure, had a big contract. There was a lot of talk about what Braun was making, and that like a lot of people think that he will end up re-signing with the WWE, or at least that was the early thought, on a lesser deal. If you follow him on social media, if you see any of his posts, like I don't necessarily think that's kind of on his mind, and maybe it's not even on the WWE's mind. But like I think it's Nick Khan's looking, and the corporate side's looking at, you're making this much. There's not probably a lot of new merch being pushed because he hasn't been on TV basically in 2021. I mean, a little bit at the start of the year, wrestled the match at WrestleMania, and then for the rest of the year, he's pretty much been gone. So 8 months, we're not pushing new merch. So at one point, you were on the top of the merch, but if there's nothing new, you're not being used. So I'm not surprised from that aspect because of the corporate side. It definitely, I didn't expect I didn't wake up Saturday expecting to see Bray Wyatt released.
Especially after the fact that WWE had a press conference with Nick Khan and Vince McMahon, and they did the sleep is our competition because everyone should be watching WWE Network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that they touted record high profits and earnings, and then they cut Bray Wyatt.
Well, I mean, how do you get?
And then, like, well,
you can get record profits when you cut big contracts. Like, I'm not saying that to be funny towards Bray, but the more.
But you also alluded to Bray Wyatt had a lot of time off in 2021. After somebody somewhere in some sort of creative meeting decided to light him a flame and keep him off TV until he came back as an ashtray. Like, how are you going to hold that against?
Oh, I'm not
himself.
I'm not holding it against him. I'm just saying, like, that's.
I mean, I get, like, you can be like, he's had some time off recently, if you want to believe in like he wanted some time off, maybe some mental whatever. Like, to even hold that against somebody is a shit thing to do.
I mean, I'm not saying it was held against, or you're saying that from like a company standpoint.
Just a company standpoint. No, I'm not saying you are cheering this. You're not yet.
No, I'm not.
We haven't got to that part of the segment.
I'm not cheering this at all, actually. No, I'm not. Like,
saving money, guys. You sound like a progressive commercial, Jim. You want to bundle the releases, save as much money.
I mean, it's true.
I was thinking this going in, Jim. Is there any single like superstar that WWE could cut where you would like legitimately be like, no excuses, this is trash?
I mean, Bray. I think Bray is one of them. Why do you release Bray? Roman is there. Roman is on that list. Charlotte Flair on that list.
Be looking at Charlotte next couple of months.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think we'll be having that conversation generally pretty soon.
Yeah.
But like,
that is mind blowing to me too. How do you? And again, like, I understand, like, you're looking at a business perspective. I'm not saying you, Jim, directly. So when I say you, I mean like a collective WWE. You look at somebody, you say, "What's my ROI?" And is it worth it to keep them around? But I feel like in this industry, like an entertainment industry, you have to look at what their ROI is and then what their ROI to another company would be, and you have to play a little bit of defense. And I feel like Bray Wyatt is one of those characters where you have to say, ooh, he is worth so much more elsewhere that I have to keep him in my base.
It is a baseball term called wins above replacement.
Yeah.
Is how much does one player achieve? Like, how much is he worth if you pull him out? Because it's one thing to like notice, and it kind of goes along the lines of a lot of other things, where we acknowledge the greatness of things after they're gone.
Right.
Posthumously awarding things to people after they pass away. Acknowledging the greatness of a career after it ends, and not seeing it for what it is in real time. So the same thing with Bray Wyatt. You can look and see, oh, well, he's been gone since WrestleMania, and technically he's been gone since, what was the pay-per-view he got roasted and toasted and burnt to a crisp at? Was that Hell in a Cell?
WWE
No,
Campfire?
it was...
Was it Night of Champions?
No, it was...
Was it Roadblock?
It was... No, it was not No Way Out. No Way Out's not even a pay-per-view anymore, is it?
Was it Judgment Day?
No.
Capital Punishment?
Great Balls of Fire.
Armageddon. Greed. Sin.
TLC.
There we go. December to Dismember.
Yep, TLC. So he's been gone since then, but Bray Wyatt is also single-handedly responsible for giving Alexa Bliss a new lease on life creatively. Alexa Bliss's character is now not beholden to any championships. She can be whatever she wants to be. She can be involved in any storyline. She is now in the Bray Wyatt spot of does not need to be in the title picture to have a meaningful feud.
Or
Alexa doesn't get there without the Fiend.
Or her feud with Eva Marie and Doudrop.
But people are talking about it.
I mean, she is in that role, but we said that so many times with the Fiend, but then they continually just put him in the title scene eventually just to have him lose.
Yeah,
like,
but at least for now, Charlotte Flair's there in that title picture. So nobody's boxing her out for now.
But that's WWE and their 50-50 booking style.
Right.
Look at Monday Night Raw over the last 2 weeks. Of every rematch that took place from Raw to the next Raw, every single matchup went the other way.
Yep.
Keith beat Karrion Kross. T-Bar and Mace beat Mansoor and Ali. Nikki Ash beat Charlotte.
Yep.
So, I mean,
coming this week on Raw, Karrion Kross beats Keith Lee.
Yeah, like the week before, it was the exact same.
Mansoor and Mustafa Ali will beat T-Bar and Mace Windu, and then it's Charlotte and Nikki Ash will probably go to a double count out.
That's definitely a DQ finish.
Just to shake it up.
I mean, for all of Bray's career, though, with both characters, he's always had a character that doesn't need a title. So that might have just kind of been the issue of what do we do with this guy? It doesn't make sense for the leader of a cult to have a title belt and defend it all the time. It doesn't make sense for a demon, Finn Balor included, apparently, to have a title belt and defend it all the time. So it might have just been the issue is from the start, he had great characters, but not great wrestling characters.
And wrestling has never been Bray Wyatt's strong suit. If you go back and you look at like the history of Bray Wyatt in the ring, I don't think
like
you can name. You can't name me three good Bray Wyatt matches.
Every match he had with Roman Reigns,
which was like 2.
And then the Funhouse where he didn't wrestle.
That's
right, and that's not a match. That's a segment. Like Like, but also like
No, I
You
agree.
didn't
I
really-
agree
you
with you,
didn't
Tim.
want- Really, that's not what you were looking for, were you? If you were looking for that out of a supernatural character, you should have
Correct.
never got that. Like,
correct.
you should have
And I'm
got
not-
the Hell in a Cell with Seth Rollins, where like he has everything thrown at him and then he's standing up unharmed. Like that's what you get. You shouldn't get. I think his in ring he adapted to like his body size,
right.
and I think he used his body as a
Right.
weapon really
But
well.
but Tim's point is he's not.
Yeah.
He's never going to get a 5-star match 7 in Japan.
Right, like Bray
I-
Wyatt's not going to carry a match based
Mhm.
on his wrestling
but that's
skills.
fine. He's not in a wrestling company.
Right, but he'll
Very
carry a storyline.
But
But
he-
then you have to eventually have some wrestling built into that. And the whole time it just didn't make sense. Like matches that Bray Wyatt was great at were ones where he was telling the story, cutting the promos, doing the psychological thing. But at the end of the day, like, did you want to see Bray Wyatt wrestle all the time? No, you wanted to hear him on the mic. You wanted to see what he was going to do with the Funhouse. But I didn't need him in the ring. And that's probably one of the main reasons why he ended up being cut, was just because they were like, we have this guy. He's a great character. But where do we go from here? There's nowhere.
So I think that starts to evolve into what the first part of like my 2-part discussion is like where did Bray Wyatt and the WWE go wrong? And I think there was, unfortunately,
How far back you want to go, Jim?
right, and that's what I'm
there's-
saying. I
there's
think
one
unfortunately
big moment
there's
that stands out.
There's
and that-
multiple.
Yeah, I think the biggest one that always stuck out for me was just not even being on the WrestleMania card and then just coming out and getting buried by Rock and
The
Cena
Rock.
for fun.
So that was
Oh my
that was
God!
32. No. Mine goes to 30. Like, I know we can look at 30 with Cena, but to me, I thought 31 with The Undertaker was more egregious than the Cena loss. Because so you had that moment with Cena. And then throughout that year, I'm sure there was other feuds where he called some people out and then he lost. But it's like now you have an opportunity at 31. You're calling out The Undertaker. Now, yeah, I understand Taker lost the year before, whatever. And people have like said to me this week, like, Undertaker needed that win. I'm like, did he? Like, I get he
Taker
lost.
doesn't lose twice in
Like,
a row.
I
does
get he lost the year before, but like The Undertaker's legacy wasn't going to be defined by a couple of Mania losses at the end of his career. Like Bray, I think Bray, if you're going to put Bray in that spot, if Bray's going to call out The Undertaker, he's got to win that match. Like, whether or
If you
not
have
it,
Bray
whether or
going
not
over though, you can't do it 2 years in a row. Like that does tarnish Taker to a little bit.
But look what
'Cause-
it did for Bray Wyatt.
But here's
Or,
the-
I'm sorry, Brock Lesnar.
But it did. I mean, Brock did have a lot after that win, like, and
I mean,
that also
the
led
best
to
thing we
like
got
Seth
out of that
Rollins.
win was the 1 in 31-1 or 21-1 rather.
Right.
Like, that
But that-
promo was better than anything that Brock did after that.
But to the tarnishing of like the Undertaker's legacy, like you know, do you remember Brett Favre for like being a Super Bowl winning quarterback, or the crap at the end of his career? Do you remember Cal Ripken as the guy who broke the streak, or like after he stopped the streak? Like I don't think
I
a couple
think
of
everybody
losses,
remembers Brett Favre on the Vikings.
or
Everybody
sending the
remembers
dick
that.
pics to
Brett
the
Favre for
reporter.
sending dick pics.
Okay.
Yeah.
To me, Brett Favre is eternally the dude who like threw for four touchdowns on the Monday after his dad passed away.
Right. So like
That's my picture of Brett Favre.
right. So like I don't
All right,
I-
Jim, play along with Jim.
But I really don't. I don't think that the Undertaker, you know, taking a couple of losses at the end of his career, when that's probably what he should be doing anyway, is going to hurt the legacy of the Undertaker. I
I don't
just
think it hurts his legacy, but then it makes the wins after that less impactful. Like if he loses to Brock, then loses to Bray, and then a couple years later loses to Roman, like is that Roman win as big? or is it just like, it's Taker, he's putting people over again?
But is
the only reason we're having this conversation is because the Undertaker had a winning streak at WrestleMania. Like, if we had any of these conversations, like, Shawn Michaels is the most losingest wrestler in WrestleMania history.
and he's Mr. WrestleMania.
And he's Mr. WrestleMania. Yeah.
And he's Mr. WrestleMania. Like, Triple H has a negative win-loss record.
Right, and he buries everybody at WrestleMania.
Correct.
So, like,
So it's counterintuitive to think that Undertaker gets a pass, and like, if anything, to me, WWE has proved time and time again, history doesn't matter. It's what happens right now. And for every other time that like Undertaker lost, he'll come back a little later, he'll do some funky do stuff, and then, oh man, he's a threat. Like, literally, just if you change the stories a little bit, and maybe you get the Undertaker involved a little sooner, as opposed to waiting till like 2 weeks before WrestleMania to have the old dead man walk out, dust off the duster, and 27 minutes to the ring. Like, it doesn't matter. Whatever. I'm adding 5. He's old, Jim.
I mean, if we're thinking back to like Bray Wyatt feuds, either as part of the family or as the Fiend, like, can you think of a memorable one where he came out on top at the end of the feud? Because I'm struggling. Like, it feels like
the only one that sticks out is when he actually beat Finn Balor when he debuted the Fiend. And there was a moment in that match that I was scared.
And that was a year after the whole Bray Wyatt Fiend stuff, or Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor stuff even happened, right?
Yeah. But like,
and originally he was supposed to wrestle as Sister Abigail.
Ooh. But yeah, go back to SummerSlam 2 years ago. That match, there was definitely points where, like, because I think Finn Balor was going up for the coup de grace, and I was like, oh shit. Like, and because the entrance was awesome, and I'm like all jacked up, and I'm like, he's gonna beat him really fast, and then the match is going like 9 minutes, and I'm like, this isn't good. This is real bad.
I think that's part of like the story behind the Fiend. Is they let too much offense get in on the Fiend all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They never insulated him properly as a monster character. He should have came out and he should have just rolled Finn Balor. He should have rolled Seth Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he loses in Hell in a Cell at the height of powers, only to then win the title cool on Halloween, not cool in Saudi Arabia, where people don't even understand what the Fiend is doing.
Right. They're like,
big scary
they're
clown,
like, is
yay!
that Papa Shango? Like,
yeah, that's probably how the
Right.
Saudi prince pushed it.
Right,
Like,
because
Papa Shango Jr.
Right,
Yeah.
because wasn't there like a report that they wanted to hire like a Fallout
Yokozuna.
Bob to be Yokozuna? Like,
Yeah, they wanted Yokozuna.
yeah,
they
wanted
a bunch
the
of-
Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah,
It just they never treated the Fiend right in the ring,
correct.
and
Now, I feel like the Fiend had a better win-loss record than like the Bray Wyatt cult leader.
he did, but
He
also
did.
his sample size is a lot shorter.
That's very true. That's fair.
The Fiend, I think, has only lost, if I'm 4 matches. He lost to Goldberg. He lost to Roman.
Mm-hmm.
He lost to Seth
Mm-hmm.
And Randy Orton in the
and
Inferno
Randy
match.
Orton.
Yeah.
Or Randy Orton twice. Because Randy Orton beat him at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 4 different people beat him
5 times.
5 times from 2019
Right, in less than
To-
2 years.
2021, and he took time off.
Right, and he also didn't wrestle like every Monday on Raw. He also didn't wrestle at every pay-per-view. So, like, I mean, that's that if you're doing it in a week to week, month to month time frame, he basically lost 5 times in 6 months. That's not that's not a great.
I mean, you don't want him wrestling that much though either.
Oh, absolutely not.
That's the spectacle
Right.
of the moment. Like,
he's a character we don't need to see every week.
But
you want to
then-
see the entrance, you want to see him talk, and you want to see him bounce.
But
You
then
wanna see-
also, he had a alter ego that could come out every week and wrestle and be involved and take the heat
Right.
that for every loss that the Fiend had, Randy Orton could have beat Bray Wyatt, the man.
Right. Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Yep.
Seth could have beat Bray Wyatt. Like all of this other stuff. And then when the Fiend has to show up, stomp him.
But you just did that with Finn Balor, and then the Demon has to show up.
Right. Except
Like, you
And
can't
that
do that with two superstars.
But they weren't
You
really
can.
doing that with the Demon that much anyway.
So didn't the Demon only have like 3 matches or something? I mean,
he probably had more matches in NXT than he did in WWE.
yeah.
That sounds right.
Before, but the Fiend or the Demon Balor hasn't been around for a while because he's been Finn at Balor and his
WrestleMania
clubs.
35.
I get Ryan's point though. Like
Yeah.
WWE creative probably felt like, no, we can't have 2 of these guys. Nope, doesn't work.
Well, I think it's also because I think Finn didn't want to do the Demon anymore.
Yeah, you're right. I agree.
Which is crazy because that was the most money making thing he had done.
Right. Over like Rover, man.
Yeah.
And I feel like Bray Wyatt, again, Fiend Height of Power, was a marketing machine. Like, there was a ton of shirts.
all the
And
time.
and I get you don't have that now, but you also set him ablaze. He came back with just he would never been able to wrestle the way he came back.
Well, no,
with all
and
of the
that's
shit
why
had
he
to
went through
wear.
the transformation chamber or whatever before.
Yeah, that's why he came
the
back. and-
WrestleMania
I
37
get
match.
that, but is that the moment they jumped the shark with that character? He was lit ablaze, Alexa Bliss, like I Dreams of Jeannie it, and he's back.
With a character like the Fiend, nothing jumps a shark.
Yeah.
To me, if you're going to talk about jumping the shark, let's talk about how he had the Craftsman tool aisle thrown on him in Hell in a Cell, and then all of a sudden he's okay. Like,
That's fair.
no, like
Right. I mean,
you already tell us a couple of months in, like he debuts in August, and in October he gets the entire Craftsman tool line dumped on him in Hell in a Cell in the beginning of the month. And then at the end of the month, he wins the title in Saudi Arabia, where there was almost like an accused death. Like, I remember that match was crazy.
yeah.
Like,
That's the first time we saw the neck breaky thing, right?
No, the neck breaky thing he did to Finn.
Oh, well, that was the Finn. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think honestly, the first time they jumped the shark with Bray, and I hate to say this, that stupid red light.
Ooh.
The red light in all of the
Ooh,
Fiend's
Jim.
matches, the red light in all of the Fiend's matches is stupid.
Yeah. I think
It
like
was overkill after a while.
Like, I think if you would have done it for like the first Hell in a Cell, and then never like just as a whoa, and then never do it again, like maybe, but yeah, why?
Yeah.
Why every
that's a
time?
good point.
They tried the same ish with Sin Cara, and they had that blue lighting.
Oh, that's right.
They love this like lighting stuff. Do you want me to tell you another time they jumped the shark with Bray Wyatt?
Oh no.
What-
It was
Ring
finally-
maggots.
That was
Yeah,
what
we had a WrestleMania match with a high school projector above the ring, just showing maggots
Yeah, that
in
happened.
the ring. during a
forget-
match.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the time they had that weird kid come out and sing "He's Got the
He's
Whole
got
World in
the
His Hands"
whole
outside
world.
the Hell in a Cell, which is the only time he lost to Cena in that.
I
feud.
like the whole world in his hands.
Yeah, I actually-
That
thought
was cool.
I actually
kids
like
are
that.
creepy as
I
hell.
don't think the kid
Kids
singing
are
was-
creepy. You get
Kids
it.
are creepy,
Yeah,
man.
kids
You
are
get it.
creepy. Kids are definitely creepy.
Is there concern to any of you guys that here's the I feel like the Fiend is marketed to an older demographic,
Correct.
us. We're also the group that like grew up watching CM Punk and Daniel Bryan's. It's got to be a concern that those two guys ending up in AEW that will just follow the Fiend. Like, what is keeping us watching the WWE other than like it's just what to watch on Monday?
That's an excellent question.
Thank you.
That's an excellent
Look
question.
at Ryan
And
actually
I-
bringing something to the
I
table.
literally ask myself that question every Monday, every Wednesday, and or Tuesday and
Tuesday.
every Friday.
Like
I-
Roman Reigns
I-
bits you to watch on Friday.
really struggled watching Monday Night Raw this week, knowing that they just can't break. Like that popped in my head multiple times, and I'm all for the crowd chanting "We want Wyatt," chanted at every
Yes.
single match. Every single match, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm actually fine with that as
That
well.
should be the new CM Punk.
Yes.
They should just all start singing "He's Got the Whole World in His
Oh,
Hands."
that'd be
I
so.
would
That,
love
that
to
would
be-
and
If
take
they did like
over
the lights and
Yep.
start-
That
The
would be fucking.
Fireflies, absolutely.
and just sway, rock let WWE security throw out an entire 15,000 seat venue.
we
for
should get this
disrupting.
going. Let's really start talking about this. Let's see if this catches on Monday night. Or I'm gonna
Like-
tweet-
Fucking
I'm
let
gonna
it
tweet
happen
to my
tomorrow
14
night.
Followers.
Fucking let it happen tomorrow night too. Like let it happen at every WWE show.
Absolutely should happen.
Because also, it depending on what stories and rumors you believe, Roman Reigns is part of the reason of the Fiend's push. Because
Really?
the Fiend was Universal apparently, like I'm trying to remember who spoke out, but somebody was like, since Roman Reigns has come back, he's been a creative terror. He said he didn't want to work with the Fiend at all, which is why he came in and beat the Fiend and sent the Fiend to Raw, when the obvious answer, the obvious storyline was Roman Fiend.
Oh, because he came
So
back at
they-
SummerSlam last year. But here's
And then he wins the title at Clash of Champions the next month against
Oh, that's
Bray
right.
and Fiend, and then immediately Bray gets shipped to Raw in the draft.
but also
Roman
like
didn't want anything to do with him at all. Apparently, Roman Reigns was also responsible for the reason that the Sasha Bailey feud fizzled out in SmackDown, because Roman wanted to be the top spot, and he didn't want. He felt that Sasha and Becky or Bailey were infringing on his push.
Yep, let's
because
chant
it
"We want
was
Wyatt"
so
tomorrow.
over.
Do it tomorrow, folks. Start that chant tomorrow.
Like, it's a rumor, and I don't know if I believe it, but also if it is true, look at what Roman Reigns has done. He's kind of right. Like,
right.
the end doesn't justify the means,
No.
but
But
also like Roman is different now. Like,
right. And here's the thing too, though. Like if you look at like where the rosters were, I think we even said it post draft. Like Raw probably needed the Fiend, like more than SmackDown needed the Fiend.
It made more sense for him to be on that roster, and not just because of the red. Like, he was more of a Raw character, it felt
Yep.
like.
Right. Like SmackDown was like the number one, the wrestling show. Raw is the entertainment show, and like Raw needed something like that. You know, like Raw really was in a tough spot, and fucking a year later still are. So, you know, it's not. Yeah, it sucks. But that's, you know, that's like that is a kind of a spot on point, Ryan. I mean, Raw this week, I didn't think the first hour was terrible, and this is how bad the grading scale has gotten. Like the first hour, not that bad. The third hour, okay, pretty good. The second hour, terrible.
Like, it's
Like it's not even like this was good. This was good. No, it's like well, the first hour was serviceable.
Have what Raw was? Do you have notes from?
I don't.
And again, I don't. I'm not trying to knock, Donovan Dijak and like these guys. There are wrestlers on that show that I enjoy that I don't think are being used properly. But like, how much longer am I going to tune in to see like Mustafa Ali in a tag team?
Ryan,
and
your number one
Mace.
wrestler of the week was Gage Goldberg. I don't feel like you're tuning in that hard. I'm not shitting on you.
Dude,
but
you're not.
But
you're
you know
not
what I mean.
Wrong. There's a reason. Those were my top 3.
Like I didn't watch SmackDown last week because we went to baseball. Raw I had on, but I was working on job stuff. I didn't watch NXT. I watched AEW. That
Shanky baby.
that was my wrestling week. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I mean, if I, like I said it last week, if I'm home on Fridays, I'll watch SmackDown.
So here is,
and I've been
what
watching a lot of
happened.
Olympics too. So
I mean, and I do know like AEW's kind of found good footing on that 1.1 million rating.
yeah, they're
And
not
again, I
they're
know
not
ratings
gaining,
are
but
what
they're
they
holding.
are, but
they've gone
they're-
up every week for the last month.
The demo
have they?
has the total number has dipped last week to this week, but the demo number went up.
Okay.
So here's what's happened the last 2 weeks on Monday Night Raw, just in ring. Priest beats Sheamus. Styles and Almost beat the Viking Daddies. Drew McIntyre defeats Sheer. Natalya and Tamina versus Eva Marie and Doudrop. Karrion Kross beats Keith Lee. Mustafa Ali and Mansoor beat Mason T-Bar. MVP beats Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. John Morrison beats Riddle. Reginald beats R-Truth. Charlotte beats Nikki Ash. This week.
Wait, was that one women's match in all of Raw?
Yep.
Okay, AEW.
This week.
Wait, no, because there was an
There was the tag match, women's tag.
right.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Where Natalya gets hurt. This week, Veer and Shanky.
Timely.
Veer and Shanky versus Drew McIntyre. Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax.
All right, so that's a new match there, right?
Yep.
The
Mason
first one was a
T-Bar.
rehash.
The
Ish.
first one was the advancement of it. It was a
Right,
handy
same thing,
2-on-1.
Yep.
Next match, Mason T-Bar get their win back.
Rematch.
50-50.
Next match, Doudrop versus Tamina.
Rematch-ish.
Rematch-ish. Damian Priest and Ricochet versus Morrison and Sheamus.
Okay.
So all of them have been intertwined.
Pretty much.
Rematchy,
Yep. Riddle versus Almost, which is a new matchup. Karrion Kross, Keith Lee, where Keith Lee gets that win back.
Actual rematch.
Reggie versus Akira Tozawa.
Can we stop putting the 24/7 championship in the ring?
Seriously, that's what I said. Why are we scheduling in-ring
Because
24/7
Reggie-
matches?
Because Reggie does flippy doos and that makes Ryan happy.
Number 2 wrestler.
Yep.
Reggie's not on your top 3 if not for that in-ring match.
That's absolutely
I mean,
right.
it's an impressive flippy do, but for fuck's
And
sake.
then Nikki Ash beats Charlotte. Like,
Actual rematch.
Which is a 50, yeah. Like
And
it's not good.
like I ask myself, going back to the question you asked, Ryan, I ask myself multiple times during the week why I watch. And the answer to me is obligation. If I was not doing 3 Count Thursday, if 3 Count Thursday up and died this
Yeah.
week, I'm not watching Raw. I'm not watching SmackDown. I'm not watching NXT.
Like, you don't enjoy the NXTs.
No,
Okay.
no, I do not.
I mean, the best moment from NXT was the Hartwell bit at the end of the match. Like it hasn't been very good lately.
And even then, the stipulation of the match was lover or leaver. And
And he lost.
Johnny Gargano won
and he still got the girl.
And
we
we
go.
still get. What's the point? What is the point? Like, they could have milked out a whole nother month of the way keeping Indy from Dexter. Instead, we get the match, and she's like, you know what? I am an independent woman, and I'm gonna go get my man.
Wait, this
She
is her
runs in
leaving
there.
the way, correct?
Yeah, both her and Austin Theory have left.
Right.
How do we feel about the Index shirt?
I have not seen the
I've
index
not
shirt.
seen it either.
It's
But that's the
I'm
hottest
looking.
thing in on the brand right now, isn't it?
It is.
Like,
It is.
like everybody was
Oh,
longing for that moment.
If I had not already sworn off buying any new purchases from WWE Shop, I would buy this index shirt.
I haven't made a WWE I couldn't tell you
oh,
the
Well,
last
and that-
time.
and-
shirt
Anyways.
is in my cart along with a toddler tee for Liesel that I'm debating if I want to get for SummerSlam,
I gotta
or
look
if I'm just gonna be like, screw this, I'm not buying any of this, because that's typically what happens with my WWE Shop. cart.
I think
put
I've made
things in it.
one purchase since they changed the site, which I still fucking hate the new shop site, by the way.
I'm over it.
I think I bought a shirt in 2021.
I just bought 3, and it was in the Black Friday and July sale. I bought this shirt. I bought the Pat McAfee "It's Great to Be Great, It Must Suck to Suck" shirt, and then I bought a Hurt Business shirt. And now that if WWE wants to keep pushing down my throat that they've got record profits and they're releasing people left, right, and center for no God blessed reason,
I haven't
then I'm
even
out.
made a purchase since they changed the site. I couldn't tell you the last time that I made a purchase even before they changed the site. Like, it's probably
As-
been over a year.
I didn't know they changed the site.
Yeah, that's been months. Many
yeah, it was
months.
like around WrestleMania time,
Yeah.
maybe before.
I
Oh,
think right
boy.
around Mania time. I also like this shirt. I feel like some idiot wrestling fan is going to buy this, wear it in public, and then just get his ass beat.
Yeah,
The Provoke Me shirt,
that's a QAnon special.
right?
Yep.
And it's a Samoa Joe shirt.
Yeah, it's
Um,
great.
Boy, I didn't even know who that was for.
And like I went on because I
Right.
saw they had 40% clearance last week, 40% off clearance, and there wasn't a clearance shirt in my size that I was willing to drop money on. Now,
And see,
granted,
here's-
I've been unemployed. I've been watching money differently, but like,
But we've had to be watching money a little bit differently, a little bit. La, la,
but
la,
even,
la.
but even still, I'm like, I'd rather spend my money on playing golf, and like also because I'm going to be doing like customer service. I'm not going to get to wear wrestling shirts to work anymore, which is
Oh, I absolutely hate this website.
a bummer. But like it just like I'm going to be working from home and I'm going to have to dress up more than a job I used to go to. It's fucking hilarious. But I don't. There's not been a shirt. There's nothing that has made me go, I got to get this. Like,
oh boy, I have not watched much wrestling on the W. I really haven't. You could probably pick 5 shirts and show me them, and I would not be able to guess
not a clue.
who they're for. Oh boy, this
let's
is
see.
not
Devin said that it started going wrong. Royal Rumble 2014, him and Daniel Bryan, The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan in a strap match. I don't think he won that match, didn't he?
Was that a
The
strap
strap
match
match
or was
at
that
Mania?
The
cage
strap match at Rumble 2020.
Oh, that's right. It was.
Yeah,
Oh, that was Rumble.
with Daniel
That was a
Bryan.
decent little match.
And I think he won.
They whipped the shit out of each other.
They sure did. He says, I think it's a shame he got released at all before the Fiend character even came to play. Think about that. He's a humongous fan of Bray Wyatt. Oh, those were the good matches he had. Sorry, not when it all went wrong. He's a huge fan of Bray Wyatt. Looking forward to what's next for him. Interesting fact, his 90 days is up the day before Halloween. So,
You could go on the website and spend $35 for the Ric Flair Rolling Loud shirt.
What? Okay.
But,
Anyway,
I just, the more and more decisions that I see, and I feel like we've had this conversation before
a lot.
We're taken back to like, as grown adults, we give a bigger shit about what a person does outside of their normal day to day.
Yes.
Jackson Riker.
Right. And like, we care about business practices more as an adult than we did as a kid.
Nick Khan.
If the WWE wants to keep making these boneheaded decisions that date back to pre-Nick Khan, because these are all multiplicative when you talk about the Saudi Arabia deal. You talk about they've been cutting massive amounts of people before Nick Khan.
Yeah.
Like
this isn't
it
new.
It just so happens that Nick Khan is cutting like main event talents. And I get the rotation, like rotating stars in and out of the WWE. But also, if they did brand splits appropriately and you actually separated church and state, Raw and SmackDown, and you actually utilize NXT as a third brand, you can shift all the stars all around and they never get stale, because as soon as they get stale, you have another draft in another year and everybody gets shifted around. Instead, the way the draft works is, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are in a feud on SmackDown. The draft happens. Monday Night Raw drafts Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So the same shit you just saw on SmackDown is now on Raw. And they do the same shit for another 4 months. Like,
You wanted them to fight forever, and then you bitch when they fight forever.
yeah, fight forever is stupid.
What do you want?
Well, and I'm
fight forever.
I wholeheartedly agree with you that yes, they just continue to shuffle the same cards. It's like taking a deck of cards, only having kings and queens, and then just reshuffling them and telling you this is a different deck of cards. But like part of that also is like, I think like if Kevin Owens isn't seen on TV for like 3 weeks, people would go, well, where's Kevin Owens? Like,
is he hurt?
Right. Is he hurt? Is he unhappy? Is he this? So then like you have to bring Kevin Owens back, or like wrestling fans at times can be their own worst enemy because they want something different, and then you give them something different, and then they don't like the different thing that you gave them. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. It's a crappy problem to have. Like there's nothing. It's like a no-win.
Zero-sum game.
Yes.
Yeah. This is not to say AEW is without fault.
No, Jim lets us know that on the Twitter.
Correct. But also, WWE or AEW has a lot more green points saved up. They got some ducats of goodwill that they've given us over time that WWE just hasn't.
I feel like WWE has.
When?
Before, I mean, not now, not super
I was going to say,
recently,
can you
but they
think of
have
anything recently?
Like what recently?
No,
yeah.
I can't know. No.
I mean, I'm trying to think back to like the last Goodwill.
But I feel like the Goodwill is bought because it's a new company with new players and new wrestlers, so everything feels new still.
Right, and
They've been around long enough that the shines worn off. Plus, I mean, Ryan, this is 3 Count Thursday, so we have someone that shits on it every week. So
no, but
I
think there are things that AEW does that, like, if it happened on WWE, it would get a different reaction. And whether it's because they have more green points built up, whether it's because they still feel new, whether it's because They are bringing in guys that fans want to see that got released. Like, I mean, there's multiple reasons why, but they are.
I think AEW is going to be tested here once Rampage actually rolls out. You've got 2 shows to fill now. You've got a roster. I mean, when was the last time the Dark Order was featured on Dynamite? A couple weeks now, maybe. Was it
not this week? Last
was
week.
It last week? I know this week they had the talkie segment backstage. That's right. That was last week. You're right.
But even so, a talkie segment for me, especially when you have a lot of talk on the internet has been how overrated and overblown the Attitude Era was. But talk about the Attitude Era. Every person on the WWF roster,
for sure,
from the top down, had something. It didn't have to be a match, but they had something. And AEW right now is doing that very well. If you're utilized, you don't have to be in a match. The matches are few and far between, and if you spread those matches out, you're elongating people's bump cards, and they can wrestle longer. Instead, if AEW had Drew McIntyre, they wouldn't be having him wrestle every effing week.
No, you're a good point.
No. And Drew McIntyre is Raw's #1 star.
And he's a great example of somebody that left the WWE, was able to go and reinvent himself into something bigger than he was at the WWE, and come back at the top of his game.
And imagine where he would have been if AEW had existed at the time of his reinvention.
You're not wrong. Right, he reinvented himself in Impact.
And he was in the PWG crowd. He did a lot in the UK too.
Sure.
He was at ICW a lot, and
I mean, he put on a ton of weight.
And also Beyond. Like he really reinvented himself in Beyond, then went to Impact, and then for a cup of coffee, and then came over.
Yeah.
So it's just I want to see the collective wrestling world, not just AEW, but I want to see all parties involved line up and put WWE in their place. WWE thinks they're too big to fail. They need to get big brothered. They need to get little brothered. They need to get sunned. And they need to be put. Vince McMahon has always been his best off the back foot.
Yeah, and I hope that happens. I hope it happens.
He can't win from the front.
No.
Didn't Cody just say, now again, the guy who just retired and is going to now focus on front office things with AEW, in an interview, that we're not an alternative, we are the competition?
He said that because he said that in reaction to the WWE conference call last week.
Sure, absolutely.
100%.
Like, that should worry you. If you're Vince McMahon or Nick Khan or whoever, you should be like, oh.
It's not going to worry Vince McMahon or Nick Khan until it really starts hitting WWE in the wallet.
Think of sports and rivalries where the rivalry is one-sided. For the longest time, it was the Cowboys and the Washington football team. The Cowboys owned Washington.
Yeah.
But we swore, we got them. We can beat them. Beat Dallas. And, like, Dallas don't care. Like Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
Right.
Until recently, Pittsburgh was just beating up on Cincinnati every time they played. Or the Browns.
Oh, poor Browns.
The Browns were the redheaded stepchild to everyone in the AFC North.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Got it, just everything handed to him. And so WWE is the lead car. They see what's in front of them, and that's open road.
Right. It's nothing. It's
every other promotion sees the WWE in the front.
Yeah.
And they have a flag to follow. And AEW right now is insulated to do some great things because they're doing something WWE doesn't do. They're integrating with other promotions and other avenues. They're basically doing what WWE does better. They're doing differently what WWE does better than them. They don't have their own merch shop. They go through pro wrestling tees. They don't have the budget for an unlimited talent pool. So they work with an Impact and the Indies and New Japan.
I mean, I don't know. They have
AAA.
104 people under AEW contract.
Is that now? Not everyone is under contract. Like full. Is it 104 people that are all elite?
Because I didn't do the number on it. There was somebody on Twitter that I regularly interact with that looked it up because he did the same thing for the WWE roster, and I think it was like 80 something men and 26 women that were all elite.
I think being all elite is very different than being all. I mean, and again, I don't know, maybe not.
But those are people that are on AEW deals. Those are people that are signed to AEW. Now, not all of them are being used on Dynamites. You know, like all of them are being used every week. Some of them are being used on match number 47 on Dark Elevation this week. And that's fine. Like they do have 2 14-hour YouTube shows a week. So,
but also at the same
how many
token,
cheap digs can we throw in at one?
I mean, I'm trying to get them in before we get to our final segment.
I'm trying to keep a tally here. My arm's fucking getting sore.
For the same thing too. A lot of people that are signed in AEW wear many hats.
True.
Christopher Daniels is talent relations.
Leva Bates is a librarian.
But QT Marshall's got an outside, like he does something
right.
other than wrestle. Michael Nakazawa does something other than wrestle. Brian Cutler does something other than wrestle.
I said that because I think AEW does have the money to have an infinite talent pool, but they also do work with other companies, which is great.
Right, because we've said this on the show many times before, a rising tide raises all ships.
Correct. Absolutely. So
they
yeah,
can.
I'm 100% with you. I hope that AEW and everybody else does knock WWE on their heels, because that's good for everybody. That is good for everybody. Ryan, you all right? So to wrap up all of this, back to the initial point, where does Wyndham Rotunda end up next in the wrestling business, if he ends up anywhere in the wrestling business? Ryan.
That's a great question, Jim. He goes to AEW.
Matt?
Yep.
Tim?
AEW.
There's no place else. It's AEW.
I don't think he ends up anywhere in 2021. But if and when he is somewhere, AEW. But I think he's still going to be taking time and dealing with things and what have you. But yes, when he resurfaces in wrestling, I think it's AEW.
JoJo's been released, right?
She was let go.
JoJo, okay.
Silently, yeah. That did come out this week.
AEW already has the spot for Bray Wyatt. They've already got him. The Dark Order doesn't have a leader.
They do.
No, they don't.
Negative One's the leader, man.
Sure.
I'm not joking about that. I make stupid jokes a lot, but I don't think I'm joking about that.
No, you're not.
I'm really not.
But when has he been?
That's an awful fucking spot for him. I hate him in the Dark Order.
Yeah, I think he should do
not
his
like that at all.
own thing.
I do. I love it.
Ugh.
I think he can do his own thing. I don't think he needs to be tied in there. But
feud him with the Dark Order.
That would be cool.
Harper left him. Boom, pick off every one of the Dark Order.
to me, I think that the other money could be once the Pinnacle is done with the Inner Circle, you sign Rowan, Bray, and Braun, and you 3v5 those three versus the Pinnacle.
Ooh, that can be fun.
Old Redbeard.
All right. How
much Fiend stuff does the WWE? They own all of that. The likeness and everything. Like I know one of the guys like that created a lot of the stuff.
I read it didn't
Was
Bray,
like tweeting
pay,
about it.
Didn't Bray pay to get a lot of the masks made?
He did. Like it's one of those things where Bray Wyatt used his own money to like pitch it to the WWE. And then once the WWE was like, you know what, this makes money, we want this.
But if he's
hours.
But you're right, which is from a business sense smart on them. But if he's done that once, what's stopping him from reaching out and getting a different mask made? You know what I mean? Like whether it's a Tom Savini or not. But
I don't think we get the Fiend.
No, I think whatever is going to come to AEW is going to be not the Fiend or not anything close to it.
Which did you prefer? Like the Southern
Charmer?
I was
so hyped for that. I was so hyped for that Southern cult leader gimmick when it was first starting out. When he was cutting the vignettes, I was like, "This is so what I love." The Cape Fear vibe to it. I was all bought in.
The Waylon Mercy man.
Yeah,
I loved all of it. Like, and that's not just me. You know, it's just it stemmed from that gimmick. Like that locked me in so strong onto what he was doing that I mean, I was there for it. And then the Funhouse, the first night of the Funhouse, I was like, yes. And then like the Fiend start, and yes, all of it. Just give me all of it. I don't care. Give me.
I remember the first Funhouse, like the music played, and I was like, "You've got to fucking be kidding me!" But by the end of that promo, I mean, absolutely hooked. Absolutely, it was so dark.
Yeah, like it just all of it.
Great reinvention, really.
Devin says he loved it all as well.
No, I know. I keep throwing shit at you, Jim. We talked about Alexa. Do you want to table that for next week? Like, where does that leave Alexa Bliss?
I mean, we can touch on it quick because I don't necessarily think that the last segment with these heels and going too far. I do want to hit it this week because it's kind of time sensitive.
Yep.
But I mean, it's up to you guys. Do we want to?
I'd say we would sit on it and just see what they do with Alexa on Raw. I mean, it hasn't been good, so hopefully there's.
Yeah, we can table that.
Not much longer with it, but.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm assuming Doudrop elbows Lily this coming Monday, and Lily sits back up again. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll cover that. We'll hit that next week.
Hopefully, Eva Marie can trip again. Make that a weekly segment.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I am very quickly over the Eva Marie thing.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm super disappointed by it.
If
you have me disappointed by it, that tells you how bad it is.
Man,
like
Raw, unbelievable.
Like
Jim's about to talk about two bad things that WWE
like
doing.
it's not even good heat to the point where like when Doudrop turns on her, like it's gonna be good. It's just it's literally that bad.
It's gonna be like, oh, thank God.
But then I think people will just be like, okay, cool, because like nobody's.
The heat goes on Doudrop for taking too long.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's bad.